let's start the audio off right there. All right, shall we begin? Shout out to everybody around the world that is tapping in right now on this live stream. I am in undisclosed location, and I wanted to get this live stream going, sort of talk to you guys about the White House card that is highly anticipated going on next week, right? And as all of this is going on, I think it's kind of important to sort of highlight, right? What is the importance of this event? Is this really going to change anything if let's say this event happens? Obviously, it's going to happen. Hopefully, it happens in full safety where nobody has to worry about, I don't know, let's say uh, T-word attacks or any type of problems that, well, let's just say that the recent White House was, not able to, sort of put the handle on, right? The dinner correspondent weddings and things of that. Juice Man says, "What's good, SAA?" Shout out to you, my man. Yeah, you know what, man? I had no idea you were Mexican, bro. That's why you always say "SA this and this, that, and the other." I didn't know you were, Mexican. But yeah, shout outs to you, Juice Man. Humble Man says Kyrie. He says there he is. Aaron Maga says hello, brother. How are you today? Doing very well, my man. Humble Man says, peace be upon you, peace be upon you as well. Let's see. Daniel Berry says, hello, peoples. Happy Fridays. Yes, happy Friday to you all. Humble Man says, the man. Yes, there it is, man. So, topic at hand, right? Yes, this card is amazing, right? There's a lot of things to be excited about it, but in reality, right, it's kind of important to ask. He says, "Yeah, I'm not affiliated. Oh, I'll just throw it out there for fun." Okay, I mean, you don't have to necessarily be affiliated to say essay, right? I mean, that's like saying, you have to be a blood or a crip if you drop the N bomb or anything like that. And obviously, everyone nowadays seems to drop the N bomb, them, their mother, and Chad the Builder. But here's a question, right? Is this event really that important? And at least on the MMA side of things, I will say that it is very much important, right? It very much is important on the MMA side of things. Why? Because what it's going to do is catapult the business into a completely different stratosphere even after the White House. Okay? Because remember, you got Ilya Tapora. If he wins, you throw him in there with Armin Sarukian. And if Armin Sarukian continues to do what he does, it's going to be a big fight for him and Ilya Tapora. But in order to do that, in order to make that fight bigger, obviously, Ilya Tapora um, has to win this fight. Armin Sarukian has to just continue what he's doing with RAF, and then all the other streamer stuff that he does. That's also helpful as well. Um, But then this White House card, it's really going to catapult Ilya Tapora on a completely different stratosphere, right? So for the MMA business, it's important. Also for the heavyweight division, it's also important because you don't know what's going to happen with Tom Aspinall. You don't know if Tom Aspinall needs to be replaced. You don't know if Tom Aspinall is going to come back to the UFC with talks of Eddie Hearn sort of pulling him out of his UFC contract and whatever comes with that. But I think it's important to understand and point out, right? Very important to point out that the country is in shambles right now, right? Economic wise, it's in shambles. I'm going to tell you guys, right? When I get in here and I slag off the people that try and diss me, what are some of the most common things that I say? Because remember, I don't know y'all from a can of paint, okay? You don't know me. Some of you in here know me. Some of you that have tapped into the chat, obviously, some of you guys are my real life friends, people that I've ran across. But for the rest of y'all don't really know me, right? And I don't know y'all. So when I go out and I have to diss a troll on here, I have to be very general what I'm saying, right? So when I say, hey, you know what? You ain't got $5,000 in your bank account. You ain't got, X, Y, and Z going on. You got your check engine lights lit up like a Christmas tree and all these underlying health issues and underlying problems that you have that you can't solve. I'm not saying that specifically about anybody, right? That is a general statement that is indicative of what is going on in America today. And you know what? It's low hanging fruit. It is what it is. But when you're getting dissed online or when you got trolls on your live chat, I mean, it's like the first thing that you go to, right? Which is kind of weird thinking about it, right? I often see rappers diss each other, talking about, oh, you broke, nigga, you broke, this and that, you know, that nigga broke, or you, this and that, whoopty woo. Little do they know that as they're calling their ops broke, who, by the way, is probably in equal standings with them in terms of financial security, right? Or maybe even more. They forget that it is their homeboys who may not be in the same exact privileged position as they are, and yet they're dissing a man who is probably not only an equal footing with them, but also uh, probably somebody that has more than them. But little do they know, maybe it's your homeboys that have nothing. I mean, think about that, right? Just, it's just, uh, it's just a common thing that they do as far as rappers and as far as people who, you know, have to go and diss other people for whatever reason they have. But here's the thing about it, right? It is a reality. A lot of people out there are struggling to pay bills. A lot of people are struggling to put food in their table. And Ballas says they're all broke. He says, don't forget to drop a like, everyone. Humble Man says, thank you for that. Who's all broke? Ballas, Pace. Let me know who in particular you are speaking about. Are you speaking about the rappers that I'm talking about? Are you speaking about specifically? Just yeah, let me know. Let me know just for conversation's sake. First time I've seen you here, and this is why it's always good to bring up different topics and different scenarios because you never know who's going to show up on the chat and yeah, and contribute. But on any regard, uh, you have a lot of people complaining about this card for multitudes of reasons, right? One of the reasons why some people are complaining about this card is because of the fact that, well, it doesn't live up to expectations. But let me rebuttal that for a second, right? Let me tell you why it doesn't live up to expectations. Because number one, the way that you're sort of marketing this card, you're marketing it like as if it is the greatest thing on earth, right? It is the greatest thing on earth because it's a once in a lifetime thing, okay? And that's understandable. Uh, that's understandable if you want to look at it like that. But the thing is, if you really look at it in hindsight, it's just a card like any other card. The only difference is that it's done at the White House and it's done at Donald Trump's birthday. That's the only difference. And so, with the magnitude of that reality, they're sort of expecting something that is far beyond what their dopamine or their level of excitement can, you know, truly handle. They're expecting something epic, something that is, how do I explain this, right? Kind of like the first time Star Wars ever came out. Nowadays, you have so many nerds out there who are into Star Wars, into science fiction, and things of that nature. That in reality, whenever you come up with a movie like The Matrix or Star Wars or anything to do with aliens or this, that, and the other, it doesn't surprise people anymore, right? It's no longer a surprise. Just like back in the 90s, Jerry Springer was one of the hottest shows on television, right? Because there were constant conflicts, there was a high level of opposition and contention. You're talking about guys that were like black nationalists up in there with people who are in the KKK. You had people who were doing X, Y, and Z. You had all types of things. Jimmy Meyer says the White House literally looks like a scene from a movie, Idiocracy. Um, See, here's the thing, right? I don't know. I don't know if I completely agree with that because look, the way that people look at this card, right? They look at this card in two ways. They look at it in two ways. Number one, they look at it like, oh, it's a waste of time. That you know we have bigger problems and bigger fish to fry. To a certain extent, they are correct, but to the other side of that, I think that they're just miserable people. I'm just going to be honest about it. A lot of people who are downplaying this card or just scoffing at it are either just people who uh, don't like Trump for the oppositional reasons of political opposition or political contention, which is normal, right? It's just what they do in Washington. Whenever they have a political opponent, oh, well, this guy isn't doing it right. Instead of the Democrats doing it this way, they should have done it that way. And instead of the Republicans doing it this way, they should have done it that way. It's the constant game that they play, right? So just, how do I say this? On par. It's on par with what they do in politics, so it should be nothing that really surprises anybody. However, I think it's safe to say that a lot of you are really miserable people who are downplaying this card. And I think that's kind of important to bring up, right? As much as it's important to bring up that you people who are downplaying this card are miserable, it's also kind of important to understand that, in a way, some of them are right. And they are right. It's like, why are you having this circus when you have all of these problems going on, right? Americans can't pay their bills. Uh, there's low job rates that are going on right now. There's all of these underlying issues that are going on in the world, right? So they're right. They're also right. But at the same time, I also think that I'm right in terms of calling people miserable, unhappy saps who just want to downplay everything, who just want to talk bad about everything, don't have anything positive to say, right? Two things can be truth at the same time, and they can exist in those worlds. That's literally what I'm trying to convey with this, right? Two things can exist at the same time. So I need you guys to understand that. Okay, let's continue on. I think you know what? I'll probably do 10 more minutes in here, and then we'll head out, and we'll head out into the road, and and change a little bit of scenery. So, all right. Um, yeah. Jimmy Meyer says, when I say literally, I mean literally. Okay, and that is in reference to the White House. Literally, looks like a scene from the movie Idiocracy. I'm very familiar with that movie, yes, and it's very prophetic in some of the things that is going on right now in the world of U.S. politics. Right? Is it that, or is it just in reality, America has always been like that? Right? I'll give you an example. Right? One of the biggest complaints that people have about British politics right now, he says, imagine his browser history. Yikes. Who is that in okay. Who is that in reference to you're talking about? I know you ain't talking about me. Okay, we're getting this fool up out of here. Freaking idiot. Boom, you're up out of here. You're banned for life. Never coming back here ever again. Right? Deadly Chihuahua. What a dumb name. Deadly Chihuahua. More like Deadly Bitch. All right, yeah, Deadly Bitch got sent to the Shadow Realm. So boom, up your ass up out of here. Okay, so um, what I was trying to say was that I think in normal day-to-day American politics, I think this is just really what it is. Look, I'll give you an example, right? Take a look at England, right? They have their own problems with the politics they have going on right now, right? They have immigration issues, they have issues with X, Y, and Z, you name it. They have issues just like the United States has issues, right? So understand this. They will never elect an actor. They'll never elect a movie star. They'll never elect an athlete or anything like that. It's just not what they do. It's just not within the realms of what they do. Okay? But in America, we've had a history of doing that. Ronald Reagan was a former actor, right? If you remember in Back to the Future, when Marty McFly went back to 1955, Doc Brown asked him who was the president of the United States at your time, and he said it was Ronald Reagan. He was very shocked by this, very shocked. Like Ronald Reagan, the actor, yes, because in America they elect actors, not in England. But the problem that they have in England is that maybe they don't take politics seriously enough. He says, hi, which country are you? Obviously, I'm in the United States, California, Sacramento, California to be exact. A humble man says, Trump is such a joke. Kyrie, he claims they should set up for the White House 250 freedom even after the event is over. Yes, I've talked about that briefly in the previous live stream, right? I've talked about that where he had mentioned he wanted to keep the entire the entire building and the entire infrastructure as some sort of like monument or some sort of remembrance to his presidency and the event that he himself had promoted and brought to the White House. Humble Man says, such a made look for America's nonsense, in my opinion, my brother. Jimmy says, where is George Carlin when you really need him? You know what, man? I actually went to a George Carlin show when I was like really young in Las Vegas when he was alive. I remember that, yeah. And that's what he was known for, right? He was really known for calling out all the BS that is going on today. But unfortunately, he lived in a different time, in a different era, to which led to his demise of old age or whatever underlying issues he had, to where he is not with us now. But yes, George Carlin is very much known and recognized for a lot of the conspiracies that he has brought up in the modern context of all the things that is going on today. So, yeah, shout outs to George Carlin for that one. So yeah, man. Let me know what else you guys think. We're gonna get to a bit of the bonus round right now. We're gonna go for a bit of a drive here and take this show on the road, because I am on the road right now. So just kind of wanted to get this cracking with you guys a little bit here. So all right, here we go. We're gonna head out right now. Here we go, guys. Let's head out. Okay, Humble Man says, such a made look for America. It's nonsense, in my opinion, brother. Where's George Carlin when you need him? Jimmy Meyer says, I can't really get mad. It's hard to get mad when I can't stop laughing. Okay, so you find all this funny. You find all of this White House thing hilarious to you, right? And I understand. I understand where you are coming from in that perspective. Uh, Humble Man says, a bad look. I meant to say Kyrie. Sorry, I typed fast, my brother. Okay. So, all right, let's go. Let's rock and roll up out of here. All right, guys. So we are now heading into the American River. Look at this. This is a schoolhouse that was built in 1883, and they are preserving it even till this day, right here. So a little bit of construction going on here. Look at that Justin Gaethje look-alike right there. My man looks like Justin Gaethje. Maybe I should go interview him or not. All right, so here we are, guys. We are now in the American River right now. Am I getting some food? No, I didn't come out here to get food, although there is some good food here. But yeah, not getting any food out here. But I can show you some of the food places that are out here, obviously. So yeah, check this out. We are now in the Delta American River area right here. Jimmy says, cool. My house was built in 1892. Wow. Okay, so you definitely got a generational house going on there, uh, Jimmy Mars. What part of the United States are you from? Or if you are from the United States at all, let me know what part of the world you're from, brother. Okay, so you are from Massachusetts. Justin Gaethje look alike, LOL. Yeah, dude, he looked like Justin Gaethje, the dude that I saw walking his dog. Worcester is one of the oldest cities in the country. Oh, yes, it is. Yes, it is. Definitely part of the colonial days for certain. Yeah. All right, let's keep going. Oh, what country am I filming in? This is in Sacramento, California, to be exact. Jimmy Meyer says, I laughed because Trump is 100% American. That shit can only come from here. Yes, yes, that is true, right? You know, America is the land of imagination. Let's not forget about this, right? America is the land of imagination and creativity. That right there is one of the reasons why America is one of the greatest countries in the world. Now, when I say the greatest country in the world, he says, very beautiful, lucky, lucky man, Kyrie. Thank you, my man. Yes, and this is literally just in my backyard, right? All of this is literally in my backyard. It is, yes, it is magnificent. Absolutely magnificent, to say the least. You are absolutely right. Right up here, we're going to come up to a house with a family that has its own airstrips, right? I think we're going to see that somewhere right up here. A family with airstrips, I believe, right? They have their own, uh, a skydiving company, I would assume. Jimmy Meyer says our obsession with movies, music, food has finally made his way all the way to the top. Ah, yes, yes. Because you know what? It's like what Bryce Mitchell said, right? What did Bryce Mitchell say during his media scrum? I believe he's fighting this week at the Bilal Muhammad card, right? What did he say? He said, I appreciate the White House card, but I don't expect my government to entertain me. That's what he said. I do not expect my government to entertain me. Those are his exact words. I do not expect the government to entertain me. So I think everything that you said right there is matching with that reality, right? Our obsession with movies, music, food has finally made its way to the top. And what does he mean by that? What does Jimmy Myers mean by that? He means Donald Trump. He means that he's a former reality show star, now sort of taking all of this into the world of politics, right? Just mixing the world of politics and pop culture is really the best way to put it. But speaking of movie, I mean, yes, we're showing some beautiful movie majestic scenes right here in this beautiful mother nature of ours right here in Sacramento, California, man. So and look at this. Look at these beautiful homes right here. I believe this is a vineyard right here that they have going on. Oh, yeah, we are going to pop up in just a second. Oh, here it is, right here. Look at this, right here. Take a look at this right here. So some airplanes right here. See? So there it goes, right there. Yeah, this guy right here. Yeah, really conventional minded fool. He could have just gone around me, you know, and then just called it a day. But yeah, anyways, freaking idiots. Shut the hell up, you stupid ass Karen. I'll slap the fuck out of you. Anyways, yeah, so there it is right there, right? Some planes right there. There it is. Humble Man says, Kyrie, do you enjoy the person Bryce Mitchell is becoming? I don't know if I enjoy the person he's becoming. I know people have clowned him in the past and he is also has made some comments that have made people's eyebrows go up before. Look, he's not that unique. Mitchell is not that unique. I need to really emphasize this, right? There's a lot of people that think like Bryce Mitchell, all right? They just don't have the clout, they don't have the recognition, and they also don't have the microscope of a company that is owned by the boys, okay? So that's sort of the trajectory that Bryce Mitchell is at. He's at a trajectory where it's sort of, I mean, it's sort of shocking when he says it. Like, okay, take for example, right? All the stuff that he said about the Austrian painter and this, that, and the other, right? All these things that Bryce Mitchell has mentioned about the Austrian painter. I need you to think about this, right? Who among your friends has never said a thing like this ever? But the thing is, you guys are doing this in private. The type of conversations. Look at this beautiful scenery right here. I just wanted you guys to bask on this beautiful glory right here in this bridge that I'm passing right here in the Sacramento River. Okay, now this conversation that Bryce Mitchell has, I need you to think about this, right? It's a very common type of conversation. It's a very very common type of conversation that many of your friends have talked about behind the scenes. Okay, it's not that uncommon. The thing is that he's in the UFC. He talks to UFC media. Okay, he has the attention of UFC media, and everything that he says is held in high scrutiny. So I don't know if Bryce Mitchell was really any different than he was before, or he's become a better man, or he hasn't become a better man. Look, this is a thing with Sean Strickland, right? A lot of people are saying, you know what, I'm going to save that for a little bit. I'm going to save that for the upcoming conversation that I'm about to have about Sean Strickland. But for now, enjoy the scenery. We are going to talk about Sean Strickland and what people are saying about him and what I think about it in terms of his transition, right? So, yeah, just enjoy the scenery for a second, if you don't mind, guys. Give it about a couple of minutes, guys. I'm going to give you my thoughts on Sean Strickland and why Sean Strickland is, quite frankly, a phony about this. All right, that's the next topic at hand. Why Sean Strickland is a phony and all this attention that he's getting for getting banned at the White House. I'm going to tell you the truth behind it. Humble Man says, I appreciate you answering my question, Kyrie. I also wanted to ask you something. Yes, please. Ask right away. I'm going to here we go. I'm going to turn this off right here. Or actually, what do I do here? Hold on a second. Let's get to some green screen background. There we go. All right. We'll get the White House as the green screen in the background. How about that? All right. So yeah, go ahead and ask your question. So Humble Man says, um, he says, do you find it disrespectful that Ilya made a funeral out of the last couple of fighters he's been? Is that a real legitimate question? Like you're asking, like what exactly are you asking in that question? You're going to have to elaborate for me a little bit. Please elaborate further what you mean by that. If you can, please elaborate for me that question for just a second. Um, Yeah. What do you mean by funeral? Like, you mean like how he starched them, like really badly? He says Volk masked Charles, and he added a photo of Justin Gaethje as well to his funeral he had. Ah, okay, okay. So that's ultimately what you're asking, right? That's ultimately what you're asking is okay. He says, do you think it's all for promotion? Of course. Listen, everything that Ilya Tapora does is for promotion. Look, here's something else you got to understand too, right? You know, Ilya is sort of like, I mean, like, look, he looks like a dude that, you know, is kind of well put together and stuff like that. Looks like he's got all his stuff in order. But in reality, look, you want me to really tell you the truth about, you know, Ilya Tapora is, you know, he's a bit of a simp. You know what I mean? The dude's a bit of a simp if you think about it, right? Like, first of all, like, how do you not see from a mile away that getting with somebody that's from Miami, okay, especially somebody you met at a party scene, you know, is somehow going to be like a good girl or something. You know what I mean? It's kind of weird that he believed that there was any notion of good from this person. Like, remember in the Nelk Boys, he's like, oh man, you know, you can find a wife anywhere, man. You can find a wife anywhere. No, the F you can't. Certainly not in no Miami. And then he said, there's a video of him at a funeral. He says, Donald, Will, Zondo, Mountain Dew, Trump, Jimmy Myers says. Okay, what exactly does that mean? You're going to have to elaborate for me a little bit what exactly that means. But okay, to answer your question about the funeral thing, right? To, you know, sort of answer your question, here's what I think, right? I think that's just done out of promotion. I mean, obviously a lot of the things that he does is kind of like, you know, symbolic in a way. Like, he does a lot of things that sort of you know, shows symbolism, that shows a bit of like cultural reference to him being, you know, from Spain, him being from Georgia, right? So I don't know. The funeral thing is kind of weird and odd, right? I don't know what he's trying to imply with that, but obviously everything that he's trying to imply with that is sort of well, sort of metaphorical. Humble Man says, I think there's a little too dark and he's going too far trying to appease the American fan base, just in my opinion. Well, here's the thing, right? Who in America kind of finds that appealing, right? Unless you're like some, you know, gothic emo, you know, type of person. Like for example, if you grew up idolizing the Undertaker or something like that, right? Then I can see how that is you know, how that might be appealing to you. I don't know if that's necessarily a way to appease the American crowd, or that's some kind of strategy he's doing. He says it's the president in the movie Idiocracy. Oh, okay. Donald, Will, Zondo, Mountain Dew, Trump. Is it really? It was or did you just add, you know, the Donald Trump name in there? Um, let's see what else here. Okay, so I think it's a little too dark. Okay, yeah, we talked about that. Okay, I'm talking about Ilya. He says, okay, I'm putting on. I'm putting on a green screen because I don't want to show where I'm at right now. He says, yeah, yes, I added it, but it's the exact same character. Okay, okay, yeah, sort of something they predicted. Um, he says, do you agree on that, Kyrie? He says it's easy to say that he acts like Conor McGregor, but look at Marab. He's way different from Ilya, in my opinion. All right, so here's the thing. Here's the thing with Ilya Tapora imitating Conor McGregor, right? I think at some point he's gonna try and break away from that. I understand how influential McGregor was, but at some point you gotta have your own personality. You gotta create your own niche of things, right? So, um, is he different than Conor? Is he different than Conor? Hmm. I'm gonna say yeah, he is. I'm gonna say he's different from Conor, but at the same time, Conor doesn't really make a concerted effort to try to be the opposite of him. So yeah. Um. Oh yeah. Okay. Okay. So the one thing I was gonna talk to you guys about, I was gonna talk to you about um Sean Strickland. Let me try and timestamp this right here. Okay, so 43 minutes into it, we're going to talk about Sean Strickland. All right, so here we go. Here's what I'm going to talk to you guys about with Sean Strickland, right? So everybody is sort of looking at Sean Strickland as a hero right now, right? They're looking at him as some sort of hero because of his stance that he took against Israel. I think that's a load of BS. I'm going to tell you why I think that's a load of BS, right? Sean Strickland had told Bilal Muhammad that you and the Palestinian people need to lay down and know the pecking order of things. So, in other words, he's saying that you guys can't beat the Israelis at war. You guys can't fight the Israelis. So, therefore, you guys should just surrender and bow down. That's literally what he said, right? And then all of a sudden, he goes and makes APAC jokes after the Kamzat fight, and that's all well and great, all banter and this and that. Obviously, the UFC had something to say about it, but at the same time, he goes and switches up the whole entire narrative to where he goes from saying, you know what, I don't want to go to the White House card. I don't want to fight at the White House because it's just nothing but a bunch of pedophiles that are watching there. Okay, fair enough. That's a perfectly normal stance to take, right? Brandon Royval took that stance and said, all right, you know what? I'm not going to do it. It's nothing but Hunger Games shit. I'm not going to be down with that. I'm not going to do it. I have no desire in fighting in the White House. Okay, fair enough, right? Okay, so Sean Strickland, the same thing. Fair enough. He was already scheduled to fight months ahead before the White House card had already been made, right? He was already going to fight a month before the White House card. So fine, you can't fault him for that. Legit argument. All right, so now all of a sudden, get this, understand he didn't think that he was going to win that fight against Kamzat. And quite frankly, I don't care what the judges say, that dude did not win that fight. Because by the end of the day, when it comes to MMA, wrestling still wins fights, right? And so regardless, he won the fight. He didn't think he won the fight. Now he wants to go and pull up at the White House. Okay, so then he goes and pulls up at the White House, knowing that there's going to be consequences to the things that he says. And all of a sudden, now he gets kicked out, and now he's screaming, oh, dude, this is freedom of speech or this and that. Look, here's the thing, man. Do I agree with what he's saying? Yeah, I 100% agree with what he's saying. But at the same time, I don't think that he really stands on it like that. I honestly don't think that Sean Strickland really stands on his principles in that particular matter. There is no way. There is no way he stands on those principles because here's the truth of the matter about Sean Strickland, right? He doesn't have any principles. That's just what it really comes down to, right? The only people in the fight game that have principles are the Dagestanis Okay, that includes Khabib. That includes the rest of the guys in his crew, and maybe you can even add Kamzat into that mix as well, regardless of what you think about his affiliations with Ramzan Kadyrov, right? So that's just what it really comes down to. But with Sean Strickland, he doesn't believe in anything. Okay, he doesn't believe in anything. I'm going to tell you the dumbest thing that I saw people post during the time of when he won, right? They said, oh, glory to Christ. This is like some sort of like victory for Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior, and all this other BS garbage, right? The truth of the matter is, man, the dude was never a Christian. He never preached Christianity to any degree. Sure, he preached American patriotism, but American patriotism got nothing to do with Christianity. What I'm trying to say is that Sean Strickland doesn't believe in anything. He's a dumb white dude who really doesn't have any education, just says whatever he feels to appease whoever he wants to appease in that current moment of time. That's just what he really is. So now he's getting all this attention because, oh my God, he got kicked out of the White House because of freedom of speech, man. Look, here's the truth of the matter, right? Freedom of speech doesn't exist. Because here's the truth of the matter, right? If you were to say something disrespectful to me, do you think that I'm going to let that slide? Do you think, and here's the thing, right? I believe in the Constitution. I believe in American exceptionalism. I believe in all of these things. I believe in being a good American and being good, being a good contributor to your society. I believe in all of that, right? But make no mistake, if you were to say something that's undesirable or something that I find reprehensible or something that I find offensive and you say it to my face, I'm blasting you in the face with a couple of right hooks, lefts, and a whole bunch of kicks that you wouldn't see from, from God knows where. That's the that's the truth. So this freedom of speech really exists because a lot of y'all that listen to my channel, right, you sort of think that, okay, you know what, I'm all about free speech, I'm this, that, and the other, and I am. I am about freedom of speech to a certain point. But here's the thing: if you start talking some pedo shit and some weirdo shit on the live chat, guess what, man? Me or the other moderators are gonna kick you up out of there. We're gonna put you on a timeout. In fact, we're gonna send you to the shadow realm, uh, the shadow realm of the internet. That is right, uh, not saying committing of any 187s or anything like that, but you know what I mean, right? So this freedom of speech really exists. And here's the thing, right? If I was to walk up to you and talk shit about your family or your wife or your kids or this and that, you're going to feel some kind of way towards me. And guess what? If you are in some kind of position of power, or if you have some sort of influence to blackball me or this, that, or the other, guess what? You're going to do it because you're a human being by the end of the day, and you're going to exercise your power over, quote unquote, exercising your free speech rights or this and that, or caring about. No one cares about each other's free speech rights, is what I'm trying to say. And quite frankly, the other thing about that, Sean Strickland, in my humble opinion, really doesn't have any strong identitarian politics or any strong ideological stance towards anything other than what makes him feel good and what gets the crowd roar when he yells out USA like Hacksaw Jim Duggan carrying an American flag for God knows whatever reason he has, right? Which is primarily no other reason to just rile up the crowd. And that's just what it really comes down to by the end of the day. Let me read some comments here regarding this particular topic right now. So let me see here. Okay. Okay, so Jimmy Meyer says there's a lot of Conor McGregors in South Boston, as I would imagine. Elevator says happy Friday. Shout out to you. Humble Man says yes. Sean Strickland. Jimmy Meyer says I'm a Jewish American and I don't support what Israel is doing. A lot of us don't. Okay, and that is a common thing that a lot of people need to understand, right? That this war in Israel is not popular, especially amongst Jewish people. Jimmy Meyer says, are they really going to tell me, as an American Jew, I can't say nothing bad about America or Israel, whatever, F out of here? You know what? As a matter of fact, they would look at you as a self-hating Jewish man. To be quite honest with you, that's how they would look at it. He says, okay, I admit it. I'm a bad Jew. I have tattoos. Okay, I mean, I'm a Muslim too, and check this out. But that was before I became a Muslim. So, Starburst says hi. A humble man says, could you maybe add DC? Add that DC is respectful to Kyrie as far as fighters. Yeah, I would say DC is pretty respectful. But here's the thing about Daniel Cormier, right? Here's the thing about Daniel Cormier. Daniel Cormier is only respectful. Daniel Cormier is only respectful if you are respectful towards him, right? The minute you disrespect him, I mean, look at what happened in the John Jones fight. How did that work out? How did that work out during the John Jones fight? Did we see the best? I'm not talking about his performance in the cage, right? I'm talking about his performance overall as a human being, behaving like a human being. There was no humanity in the side of DC when he fought John Jones, and that's something you guys got to understand, right? When you have an enemy, I swear to God, when you have an enemy, whether it's in the streets or whether it's in prize fighting or your rivals in sports or whatever, your enemies bring out the worst in you. That's just what it is. Okay, I've had dudes that I've funked with in the streets who have brought out the worst out of me, who made me do things that I honestly regret, but I did it in the name of getting one up on them, one upsmanship, as they say, right? Starburst says hi. What's up, man? I think it's the first time I see you here on this chat. Humble Man says, could you maybe add? Okay. Gomi Homie says, okay, that's an interesting name. Gomi Homie says, you can totally say bad-ish about Americans and Jews, but don't be surprised when Americans and Jews say F off. Okay, I don't know what that's in reference to or what you mean by that. You're going to have to elaborate a little bit on what you mean by that and what you were trying to get at with that. Yeah, please give me some context behind that. What did you mean by that? Where did that come from? And who specifically are you getting at when you say that they say F Americans and F Jews or whatever? But yeah, going back to what I was saying about Sean Strickland, right? I think that a lot of people overestimate his intelligence. Look, I'm going to be honest with you, right? The majority of fighters, and I've seen this in the gyms that I've trained at, I've seen this with dudes that I've been around in the fight world. The majority of the dudes in the fight world are idiots. I mean, I'm sure we understand that, right? There's not many of us that are, educated people or people that, have some sort of education. A lot of these guys, the only thing that they know is fighting, and I don't know, man. That's not very conducive to really learning about the world, or or having some sort of different nuances in how the world works. So yeah, you're going to have to elaborate for me a little bit on what you mean by that. Okay, that's a motorcycle. I thought my man was mowing the lawn over there. So yeah, let me know what you think about that. Right? Do you think Sean Strickland is a phony, which I think that he is? Do you think that a lot of people are championing him a little too much? Right? Because I don't know, man. I just see nothing but a hypocrite. I don't use that word often because oftentimes when you talk about a hypocrite, right? When you talk about a hypocrite, you usually talk about somebody that changes their mind or does something completely opposite of their ideological setting, right? And sometimes that's just sort of the nature of learning new information. And as you're learning new information, you're like, all right, you know what? That's right. The sky ain't red. The sky's actually blue. And somebody proved to me that the sky is blue. I'm not going to stand on this position to say that the sky is red when it's clearly not, and I was given evidence of otherwise. He says, Humble Man MMA asks, you ride motorcycles before? Kyrie? Yes, when I was younger. Humble Man MMA says he is a phony. He is just seeking attention too. That's another thing you got to understand, right? This is just what Sean Strickland does. He's an attention seeker. And there's nothing wrong with that, because guess what? If you're a fighter and you're an attention seeker, this makes you marketable. Humble Man says he loves the camera on him, and now his voice his voice has changed since he's achieved fame. When you mean achieve fame, do you mean during the Israel Adesanya win or the Khamzat Chimaev win? Because those are two different types of fame that he's sort of dealing with there, right? Are you saying that he achieved more fame as he became the two-time champion? Yeah, you're gonna have to elaborate on that a little bit. Just give me a bit of some context when you mean fame, because obviously fame could mean something completely different or mean a different time frame. But yeah, you're gonna just give me a bit of some context in that. But think about that, right? How is it that you go? How, now, now, correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe there's some nuances to this, right? How do you go from saying the Palestinians need to go and lay down and just give up because you can't win this war, versus actually going in there and saying, you know what, man, this is effed up, man. This is effed up what you guys are doing to kids, and basically in unanimous agreement with everybody else as to say that this war is, is a war crime to every degree. So, Man MMA says, I think during the Izzy fight, we saw him get more mic time on those pay-per-views. And here's the thing, right? The UFC is not too happy with him being a champion, all right? And I'm not saying that because I don't like him or, I have a vendetta against him or anything like that. I'm just saying that as facts, right? They would rather not have him as champion. I think they would rather have Israel Adesanya, Khamzat, international guys, although they do want an American champion, because remember, the one concentrated effort that the UFC is concentrating on right now is building American stars. There's not enough Americans that want to fight MMA right now. They're sort of hoping that this WhiteHouse card is going to catapult that, right? Somewhere in America right now, there's going to be a kid in the Midwest or in the West Coast or in the East Coast, out in New York, out in New Hampshire, North Carolina, you name it, right? They're going to watch that WhiteHouse card. They're going to think to themselves, you know what? Maybe I'd like to be a fighter one day. They're going to look at that and say, you know what? Maybe I want to get in there and represent the United States. So, yeah, you never know. You know what I mean? Humble says, I agree. They don't like him being champ too, Kyrie. Yeah. Look, here's the thing, right? I don't think it's the WhiteHouse that kicked him out of the event. I don't think that it is. Because it's not the MO of Trump and his administration, unless Sean Strickland said something that is so completely left field, right? Like giving admirations to the German painter, or giving admirations to Osama bin Laden or something like that, right? Like, it would have to be on that type of level for them to get him up out of here, right? And then it would be just on a bare minimum a level where he speaks bad about Trump. Now, he hasn't really said anything disparaging about Trump. He hasn't really said F Donald Trump or nothing like that. By the way, that's a Nipsey Hussle song, fuck Donald Trump, fuck Donald Trump. But he's not even on that tip, right? He ain't on no YG or what do you call it? Nipsey Hussle tip. He's not even singing any of that, right? So I don't think that it's the Trump administration that's kicking him out of the event. It's the UFC that's doing it, because guess who owns the UFC? Ari Emanuel owns the UFC, right? What do you guys know about Ari Emanuel? His grandparents were former Jewish terrorists that fought British troops dating back all the way to the 1920s. Okay, they were a terrorist organization from Israel, a Jewish terrorist organization that eventually became a mainstream part of the Israeli military. Um, Man MMA says the UFC wants Sean O'Malley push against uh, again, not Sean Strickland. So here's the thing, right? Okay, they want American champs, they want American stars. They have that with Sean Strickland, right? But it's a bit of a cognitive dissonance because here's the thing, right? Sean Strickland is good for business, but at the same time, he's not. Um, I can name you a couple of examples that are very similar to this, right? Somebody that's good for business, but at the same time, they're not. Okay, Tupac, for example. Very early on, obviously, Tupac was a very lucrative artist. He was a very popular artist. He was a very marketable artist. But the problem with Pac was that he was also very volatile, extremely volatile. Like to the point where if you went to an Interscope Death Row Records office back in the 90s, right? The most common complaints you would hear from people that work under those conditions, they would say Pac would go into those offices and literally curse out the white staff members and say disparaging things about, oh, you crack of this, that, and the other, right? This is Pac in a nutshell, okay? But obviously, he's a very marketable artist, an artist that has proven to have the capabilities of selling millions of records, but at the same time, he's a volatile person. He's a volatile human being, and not only that, he's got a very controversial family background. And what controversial family background is that? Obviously, being a Black Panther is obviously going to carry over those types of politics that he held. What did my man say here? He says, I think Sean O'Malley is the biggest goofball on the UFC roster. Hasn't had highlights in almost 3 years. And you can debate it was an early stoppage. It was an early stoppage that was obviously against Aljo. I don't know about that. I'd have to disagree with that, right? I'm going to push back on that a little bit. I think Aljo lost that fight fair and square. 100%. I think he lost that fight fair and square, right? But as far as not being able to get a finish, I think that's just indicative of what happens when you fight at the highest level. What is this? My man sent a Flow State. Okay, so thank you for the donation on that one, my man. Shout out to you, humble man. Thank you for that. Thank you for the donation on that one. He says, Kyrie, thoughts on Brendan Allen now representing Brazil, making this the third country he's represented. What do you mean he's representing Brazil? Like in terms of, see, here's the thing, right? Representing countries in the UFC is not the same as representing countries in the Olympics. When you are representing a country in the Olympics, you're really representing a country. In the UFC, you're not really representing a country, you're representing yourself. So, in other words, if Ian Gary wants to wear Brazilian shorts, yet he's from Ireland, but yet also trains in England, he can go in there with whatever shorts he wants. He can go in there with the English shorts if he wants to represent England, and he has the right to do so. He could go in there with Brazilian shorts if he wishes to because he's married to a Brazilian. He could go in there with Irish shorts because obviously that's the birthplace of his country. By the end of the day, you're not really winning it for Ireland, Brazil, England, or the United States. You're winning it for yourself, right? Unlike the Olympics, unlike the World Cup, you're actually winning those. You're actually winning those for the country. So I don't know, man. Like him wearing Brazilian shorts for his fights, I think are just symbolic, and also it's within the menu of the UFC's wardrobe options that they give you. If you notice, they give the Brazilian fighters all the yellow shorts. If you're from England, they give you the red shorts. If you're from Canada, they give you the red shorts. If you're from Ireland or Nigeria, they give you the green shorts. And yeah, so it kind of goes into that, into that. So it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter what kind of shorts you wear. I think, I don't think it's indicative of anything other than just your own, individual. Yeah. Tyler Betts says, "Yo, come out." What do you mean by "Yo, come out"? You want to see where I'm at? Let's get rid of this background real quick. There we go. Right there it is. I'm at a park right now, just chilling, talking to you guys right now. So, yeah. There you go. All right. He says, "I respect that response." In terms of what? In terms of how true it is? Because yeah, if you think about it, UFC, you're not representing a country. You're representing yourself, right? It's not like it's not like Lomachenko when he boxed in the Olympics, right? He was boxing for Ukraine. In his pro career, you could argue he still boxes for Ukraine, but in reality, bro, when you're in the pros, you're boxing for yourself. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. And even in the World Cup, how much of that are you really doing for yourself anyway? Because look, you got guys that are coaches of different nationalities coaching a different national team of what they actually represent or where they're from, right? It's almost kind of meaningless in a way. Yeah, it's meaningless. It doesn't mean much. Um, but I think that's really just the perspective you got to understand, right? Pro fighting is representing yourself, and obviously the amateur fighting, whether that's in boxing or wrestling, you're more than likely going to represent another country. So, all right, guys, and the ride continues. We're gonna ride down towards South Sacramento. Okay, that's a very good question, humble man. I really like that question right there, right? Uh, my man's Kyrie, what are your thoughts on saying that Prime Fedor Emelianenko clears out today's heavyweight division? I agree with him. I agree with that notion. I think that he absolutely does clear out the heavyweight division easily. Easily, I think he clears out the heavyweight division, right? He's the style to do so. Let me explain why, right? Okay. You know who's the favorite to win right now, right? In terms of heavyweight prospects, the rookie of the year. You know who that is? It is Josh Hockett. Josh Hockett is the rookie of the year. So many people are saying that Josh Hockett has the skills to defeat all the heavyweights right now, right? That includes Curtis Blades. He's beaten Curtis Blades. They even said that he could beat Tom Aspinall. He could probably give Gable Stevenson a good run for his money. All right. So the question is, why? Why is it that Josh Hockett has the style to beat all these other guys? Well, the reason being is because he's small, he's fast, he's explosive, and he doesn't carry a lot of weight, so that helps him with his stamina as time goes on. And did I mention he's fast and explosive? Fedor Emelianenko, very similar. A small heavyweight in comparison to everybody else, right? Josh Hockett, a small heavyweight, normal size heavyweight. He's 6'1" for crying out loud. That's middleweight. All right, but he has the skills, he has the speed, and he has the toughness to beat everybody. And Fedor Emelianenko displayed all of that. Josh Hockett reminds me of Fedor Emelianenko. That's who he reminds me of. He reminds me of Fedor Emelianenko. And Josh Hockett is the favorite to win the heavyweight title in the near coming future. So I need you guys to think about that. Josh Hockett, he's got those types of skills, and Josh Hockett has the appropriate size to withstand. I may have lost connection there temporarily. So let me know if you guys are able to hear me right now. I just lost some connection there, but I think we're back at it. We are currently in the South Sacramento area, to be exact. So, yeah. All right, so looks like we're getting some people back here right now. Yeah, just lost some connections temporarily. So here we are. We are back right now in South Sacramento, to be exact, doing a little bit of some hood vlog content for you guys while talking MMA and some politics regarding the UFC WhiteHouse. Yeah, so we are now in the Florin area of South Sacramento, the notorious South Sac. South Sac Iraq. Yes, it is. Juice Man, we are in South Sacramento, Florin and Franklin right now, to be exact. There it is, man. Florin and Franklin right here, South Sacramento. Hey, looks a lot like Compton, doesn't it, Juice Man? It's like they built all the cities in California in the same exact pattern almost. Oh yeah, oh yeah, man. South Central Compton, all of that. Watts, Avalon, the 60s, Figueroa says, looks like Orange County. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, right? A lot of towns and cities in California look identical. So, Juice Man, the topic that we were talking about and discussing earlier, and we're sort of still kind of discussing it now, is does it really matter that America is in shambles while we are having this circus at the White House? Let me know your comments and your thoughts down below as we enjoy the scenery of South Sacramento. Juice Man says, I think Trump thinks everything is all sweet, and that's not the case. Yeah, I think Trump is a very delusional man. He's one of these people that only needs to hear about the positive things that he did and not necessarily any type of constructive criticism, right? So it's a very unhealthy way to live in terms of your emotional intelligence. Juice Man says unhealthy way of living, yes, but mother effer's still living. He hitting 80. Motherfucker's still living. He hitting 80. Yeah, dude. You know he really has to think about his. Dude, 80 years old, bro. You really got to think about the other side on that one, homie. You know what I mean? Like 80 years old, bro. And you still moving the way you move, bro. It's I don't know, man. May Allah guide Trump, bro. We are now hitting the 5 o'clock traffic of South Sacramento, just like LA, right? This is like the traffic time all around California right now, whether it's in Fresno, whether it's in Stockton, whether it's in the Bay Area, especially the Bay Area, and more importantly, the most populated city, one of the third most populated city in the country, Los Angeles. Look at this, the Burlington Coat Factory that they are closing down right here. Yup. Sort of the reality of capitalism today. And what I'm showing you sort of goes into the context of the topic at hand that we are talking about in this particular subject. He says, "Where are you going?" Well, that I may not be able to answer. But we are in South Sacramento. But yeah, it kind of goes into the topic that I'm talking about, right? Where all the stores that you used to see growing up are now closing. Look at that. Look at that. That used to be like a mall over there or some sort of like shopping outlet. Now it's gone. Gone. See? They still got the halal places up right there. You know, the Arabic shops. What is that? The Umrah market. There we go. You got Mattress Firm. Of course, everybody's always going to need furnitures. The blade. What you mean by the blade? I mean, there's multiple meanings of blades and the context that you mean. All right, I like that. I like that you understand, bro. You know, I like that you understand. Man, uh we not trying to be Adam up in here, you know what I mean? And we are now in Florin and Stockton Boulevard, the notorious Florin and Stockton Boulevard. Blue skies, cuz. Blue skies, cuz. Bad boys, bad boys. What you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? Bad boys, bad boys. Stockton is about 30 minutes from here, a 30-minute drive. So I would take 5 South from here, and then from 5 South, I would exit out to 8th Street, March Lane. Yeah, all within that trajectory right there of I-5. I thought about driving to Stockton today, and then I realized, man, you know, it's hot in Stockton right now, and I ain't talking about the weather. Okay, like I mean, really hot. Like the block is hot. The block is hot. Ha, ha. The block is hot. The block is hot. Ha, ha. Like that type of tip, you know. Vietnamese. Viet ha. Viet ha. Viet ha. Shout out to all my Be It homies, bro. This is Asian Hood right here. This is where all the yeah. Yes, is not that far from here, man. Obviously Stockton is the place where I started out when I first moved to California, and then made my way out here in Sacramento. So yeah. Now this right here, this is where the trenches are at right here. We're now in the trenches. Florin, we at Florin right now. Florin and Palmer House and Briggs Drive. Look at that. Notice how that camera right there, right? Back in the days, man, all types of drive-bys would go on here and nobody would see it, right? You try doing that nowadays, you got this bad boy right here looking at you. Look at this. Camera on camera. I got my camera on the camera and the camera got their camera on me, right? That's just the new technological advancements of the world that we live in today. So that's why, you can't just go out there and slide on an op like that. You know what I mean? Like, if you're going to do it, you got to do it very strategical. Can't just be out here crashing out like the way that they used to back in the days. But yeah, man, this place was, a war zone in the 80s and 90s. Ask anybody who's been around SAC during that time. Straight war zone. That's exactly what I'm about to do, actually. Yeah. We're going to drive through the trenches. Yeah, so we are in 48th Ave and 79th Street. This is a blood neighborhood right here that we're at right now. It's nothing but bloods and Damus out here. You know what, Juice Man? I'll tell you what's interesting about your statement, right? And going back to the kind of banter that we have going on with Giuliano. So, and it kind of maybe explains why Giuliano feels the way that he does about the trenches of the East Coast as opposed to, let's say, here. So here, the hoods are hoods that have families who have owned these houses, right? As like a second generation, right? A lot of these people are like second generation homeowners, right? Especially like black folks that live here, right? So Asians as well. You know, we got an Asian homie, you know, right out here, right there, Asian family, from what it seems. But yeah. So a lot of these are like second generation homes, right? Similar to what you see in Compton, right? Or in Watts or Long Beach, right? A lot of these people have, you know, generational homes, right? But yet it's still a hood. It's still the trenches. You know, it is what it is, right? You know, the trenches, you can't get away from that. But the trenches in the East Coast are sort of like buildings. You know, you got what do you call it? Not only buildings, you got like projects. You know, things of that nature. Juice Man says NY is full of old buildings. People are weird there. That's it. Sac is worse crime wise in the Bronx. Facts. Yes. Yes. That's precisely correct. Yeah. So yeah, the West Coast is deceptively nice. I saw this meme where they compared the house that Drake grew up in comparison to, let's say, Kendrick, right? And the one side of the meme had Kendrick's house, which looked very similar to this, right? You know, typical West Coast, you know, townhome type of vibe. And then the other one was Drake living in a building that looked like it was, you know, in the hood, in the projects, and, you know, within that trajectory. So it kind of shows you the difference between the East Coast and the West Coast in that regard. Look up Juice Man. I want you to look up where Drake grew up versus where Kendrick Lamar grew up. Look at that meme. It sort of yeah, plays into that, right? Because I mean, obviously that's Canada, but it's still like the East Coast, and the East Coast of Canada, as you see, you know, has a very similar like East Coast build to that of what you have in New York and the whole entire tri-state area. So we are now in the middle of a 5 o'clock traffic in the middle of the hood, guys, in the hood. Speaking of the hood, check this out. Chicks with tatted faces up in here. You know what I mean? He says, it's like a guy that has tattoos all over his body to portray himself as a tough guy, but behind them tats, he's scary. That's the NY look, old and ugly, but it ain't ish, but just full of snitches. Dang, bro. Yeah, I mean that's a very harsh blanket statement to make out of a whole entire coast right there. But hey, you know what, man? You know, I'm West Coast all the way, and you know, I ride with anything a West Coast dude says. So, you know, there you have it. You know what I mean? I mean, look, man, growing up in the East Coast, to be honest with you, I wish I grew up in the West Coast. How about that? But I still love my homies out there. Regardless, I still got homies out there, like anywhere else. So, yeah, you know, but Cali is home for sure. Look at this traffic on way to the other side right here. So we're going to be leaving that side, and we are now in the power in area. We're probably going to hit the Arden area, and then as we hit the Arden area, we're going to hit the downtown area. We're going to have ourselves a nice little Sacramento tour and what have you. All right, yeah, we're really in the trenches now, right here. He says, I've been to Oakland in the deep east. There, right there is the trenches. Yup. Yeah. These are the trenches, too, right here, for show. You know, Sacramento style right here. Bro, all I got to say is, you know, listen to some Mozzie records. He'll, you know, he explains it all in there. You know, he explains it all without really going into too much details about it. But yeah, you know, Mozzie Records will tell you everything of what you need to know about this hood right here. Matter of fact, speaking of Mozzie, we're gonna go to the mall of where Mozzie and you know, a few guys got into it. But yeah, a well documented, you know, known incident. By the way, nothing that you know, I'm like breaking to the world. But yeah, here's Fruit Ridge right here. He says, I never heard of him. You never heard of Mozzie, the Sacramento rapper that's always with the rapper YG from Compton. Yeah, Mozzie is he's well known in your parts, bro. You know, a lot of Southern Cal people listen to Mozzie, as a matter of fact. How old are you, Juice Man? Just curious of your age. Just trying to gauge like your age through your musical understanding of things. 90s baby. Okay, so is it safe to say you're in your 30s or mid 30s? I would say, right around there. Yeah, by your age, I would say you should know Mozzie. Mozzie is probably just a couple of years younger than me, so he is from that like that generation of like the mid 2000s where we were like in our 20s in the mid 2000s type of group. That's why often you see guys my age, have like Iraq War experience, right? We used to like look at the old Vietnam vets from back in the days, and it was like, wow, okay, that's like kind of us now in this generation of guys that were in the military at that time. Juice Man says it's just that if I'm gonna listen to rap, I'm gonna keep it from back then, cause listening to this new ish is the same thing and is unappealing to me. Okay, strokes are different, folks. Some though I'll check out like Shoreline Mafia. Okay, I see the trajectory that you're talking. Yeah, Shoreline Mafia. I'm very familiar with their work. Obviously, Shoreline Mafia has done songs with YG. Hollywood. Hollywood was obviously a big song that they did together. And yeah, just reference YG. YG has done songs with Mozzie as well, and Mozzie is from these parts that we just showed right now. So we are now in the Power Inn area of Sacramento. He says, I don't like YG. I like Kendrick though. Yeah, yeah. Kendrick is a little bit more of like the mainstream Compton music, whereas YG is more like the street, hardcore gangbang music. So, and right here is Folsom Avenue, Folsom Boulevard, rather. This takes you to Sac State. This street right here, Folsom Boulevard. But we're not going to Sac State. We're going straight to Arden area. He says, I live right by YG's Hood. It's like 5 minutes away. Um, okay, yeah. That's in Treetop Piru. That's where he's from. No, no, it's well, I'm not going to mention what that is, Aaron Maga, but shout out to you, man. He says exactly. I stay in the NHP hood, next hood over crossing Wilmington. Okay, yeah, I know where that is. Bloods, nothing but bloods out there, bloods. Bloods, I'm with a few Crips. He says, I'm with a Bloods, I'm with a few Crips. So as you guys have noticed, right, I've given you guys a wide variety of Sacramento, right? I gave you guys the hood. I gave you guys the river nature side of Sacramento. Now we're going into the metropolitan side of Sacramento, right, which is Arden, and then heading into downtown. Yeah, so just kind of showing you guys a little bit of everything. Juice Man says, yeah, they be around, but they cool with me because I ain't an outsider. You feel me? Huh? You're Mexican though, right? Like, correct me if I'm wrong, because when I had you on the panel, and this was the first time that I had spoken to you outside of the chat. I thought you were. I don't know. I mean, you sound. How do I say this in a politically correct manner? You sound black. You know what I mean? But you say you're Mexican, so I'm just trying to get a frame of reference as to who you are. Not to say that they wouldn't be cool with Mexicans, but for you to be cool with Bloods and you're a Mexican, you'd have to be a very special Mexican. He says, yeah, but they cool though. Okay, yeah. And again, there's Mexicans that are Bloods. Not saying that you are necessarily, but there is also a term called a tuna, right? A tuna is what you would call like a turned up non-affiliate. That's the term of tuna. Turned up non-affiliate, meaning that you're not from the gang, but you'll turn up for the gang. That type of deal. So yeah. Let me know if you guys hear me. My headphones just died right now. I was using my headphones as the as the microphone. So let me know if you guys can still hear me. Let me know if you can hear me right now. He says, no, it's not. Tuna is a term used to diss T-Flats, a Mexican gang. Yeah, no, I understand that. I know that I know that particular vernacular to describe tortillas as something disparaging. Yes, I understand that, but tuna is also another term that falls in line with turned up non-affiliate. He says, yes, we can still hear you. Okay. They call them tuna fishes. Okay, the flats. Yes, yes. We are now in the Howe Avenue of Sacramento. This is where the apartments of many college students stay at, right? Because it's near Sac State. So since the 90s and the 2000s and mid 2000s, this has all been, I would say, relatively. I would say this is a college town. All these places right here, they're all college town places. He says, "Is this the rich?" No, I'd say working middle class, right? This neighborhood here, yeah, I'd say working. But yes, obviously there's some rich areas here too. Matter of fact, yes, I should probably show you some houses in this area that sort of resemble that. Uh, Aaron says, I come from a low income family. You're from Idaho, right? Or yeah, tell me what state you're from again, just so I can get like a certain frame of reference in mind. Oh, yes, Texas. Okay, what city in Texas again? Let me know, what part of Texas again. Oh, Fort Worth, Texas. Okay. Show you the one of the apartments that I used to live at here. Get this, right? Monthly. For a studio, I used to pay this place $590 a month for the studio. $590 a month. Put that in context, right? This. So we have now reached the Arden arcade area right here. This is what we've deemed and classified as the Arden arcade area right here. Right, there's some rich areas in here, by the way. Right, very big houses, old school type of houses, but near it are some affordable apartments. And right here, in this apartment complex right here, I used to pay $500 a month. Right here, this apartment right here, I used to pay $500 a month for this apartment. Oop, let me see if I can walk in there. Oh, yeah, Juice Man says 500. That's not bad. Now, here's the thing, right? This was in 2009, 2010, right? I had lived here from 2009 to 2010. Okay, just to kind of put that in context. Humble Man says, Kyrie, I just got some takeout eating chicken shawarma with hummus, tuning back in. I always appreciate your content, brother. Thank you, man. Yeah, 2009. Okay, yeah. That's when it was only that much, was around 2009. So this was a different color then. This was like a color beige of some sort. So let me see here. And it was right here. Apartment 108 is where I had stayed at here. Apartment 108. Let me see if I can pull up in here real quick. 2009. How old are you? I'm 40. I don't know if you know this, man. I'm 41 years old. Yeah. So right here. This was where I had stayed at right here. Yup. Exactly at 108. So yeah. He says, "Hey Kyrie, my question is, if you could talk to your young self, what warning would you give?" He says, "So by the title, I'm guessing you're not watching the card." No, I'm watching the card for sure. I just have some criticisms about it. He says, you do not look 40. I thought you were barely 30. Thank you, my man. Yeah, I'm 41 years old. A lot of people are shocked by this, right? But I think, the value of having, a good habit of exercise and a good habit of, a healthy lifestyle, I think really goes a long way. So, yeah, Aaron Magus says 41. I would have never guessed. I thought maybe 29. Thank you, man. Thank you. I try to stay healthy. You know what I mean? That's the key right there is staying healthy, Um I'm going to ask some people here, hi, how much does it cost to stay here now? Let me see here. He says, Kyrie is always sharp. Hey, excuse me. Hey, do you guys live here by any chance? You guys live here by any chance? All right, no, sorry. I'm just asking, no, because I used to live here, right? And I lived here like back in '09. It costs like, like maybe, 500. How you doing? How you doing? My name's Kyrie. How are you, ma'am? How are you? Desiree, nice to meet you. So I'm just driving around. I used to live here back in the days, right? And when I had a studio out here, I'm doing like a live stream, so I'm not like, I'm just explaining to my audience right now that when I had a studio here, it cost me $595 a month. Now, is that anywhere close to what y'all are paying right now for let's say a 1 bedroom or a studio? Like, how much would you say is going for right now?
I think they have their 1 bedrooms going for 1,400.
Yo, 1,400. Yo, that's crazy. Dang. Wait, so that's for a 1 bedroom?
Yeah, their studios start off at like 1,100, I think.
1,100. Dang, bro. Yo, that's double, bro. That's crazy. All right, yeah, for sure. Okay, yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to bother y'all. I was just curious, just doing some content research purposes and stuff. And I used to live around here, so I thought I'd come back and reminisce, one time. You know what I mean? Okay. So, yeah. Hey, good meeting y'all. My name's Kyrie, by the way. Nice what was your name again?
Desiree.
Desiree, and Iona. Nice meeting y'all. Thank you. Have a good one. Yeah? Yeah. Yo, so y'all hear that, man? Yo, you're talking like 1,100 a month, right? As opposed to back in the days when it was only like 595 a month, right? So once again, it kind of goes into the subject matter that we are talking about, right? Which is what? The subject matter that we are talking about is the fact that it's a lot more expensive nowadays. You know what I mean? Far more expensive. You know what I mean? So he says, Juice Man says, welcome to California. Yeah, but dude, welcome to California. But back in '09, bro, I was paying for this apartment for $595, bro, for a studio. I had a studio. You know what I mean? I had a studio, and it was for $595. And now they're paying like like 1,100 and 1,400 of this bitch. So it kind of goes into the subject matter that we're talking about, right? The cost of inflation, the higher costs of living and things of that nature, right? Now it kind of begs the question, right? Do we really need a White House card while all of this is going on? And you know what? My answer to that is yes. And you know what? They got a pool here too. So I think that's kind of the reason why they justify it. You know what I mean? They justify it for that reason as well. So, wow, man. Yeah, look at this. Um, Humble Man says that's unfortunate. She was nice by the sound of it, Kyrie. Okay. Unfortunate about the he says unfortunate about the rent. Would you say she was it would not be for me to judge. Let me just say that, but I don't know, man. I could have put them on camera, but I don't know. I don't like to put people on camera unless they are like adamant in doing so. But yeah. So just letting you know. All right, now within this area, I'm going to show you the mansions that are within this area right here. He says, I never leave Cali, though. I can't. Home is home. Yo, Juice Man, I agree with you, man. I'm in that fight with you as well. As now an adoptive native Cali resident. Obviously, right? I got to add the resident in there because by the end of the day, I'm not born and raised here like you were. I'm essentially a guest in these parts. See, so we got some gated homes right here, right? Arnold Schwarzenegger used to own a house in these areas. So right here, Bret Hart. Look at that. It's called Bret Hart Street. Take a look at this right here. Some nice gated houses that they have here. Look at that. Gated houses, gated communities right here. This is like the Beverly Hills of, well, it kind of resembles Beverly Hills in a way. Look at that. Look at this house right here. He says, nah, you've been here for a long time. You're a part of Cali culture. Yes, correct. Look at this. And this is what we dream of right here. This is, the California dream that we dream of right here are houses like that. You see? And then right next to it is just, an average looking home. And then right next to it is another average looking home. But then you got this home right here that's not as average, but has a very big presence to it. So Bret Hart Road, as it's called right here. So just a bit of some samples right here. Listen, man, the homies used to block these houses over here, right? And if you know, man. Really, though, man, the homies used to plot on these types of places over here. So, yeah. All right, some park right here for the kids. And then you got these houses in the cut right here, right? Just hiding in plain sight with, a gated community right here as well. All right, so I want you to observe something really interesting here, right? So as you see, we've passed by areas that are like in mansion areas, but right next to it, look, we got the trenches literally right next to where these mansions are at, right? It's a very strange paradox that you can only see in California, right? Where one part is hood, one part is ghetto, and then the other part is like mansions and huge houses all in the same neighborhood. Because a lot of these mansions and old houses right here, a lot of these people are like old money Sacramento long time residents, right? Or generational residents and whatnot. And then right here is Northrop. This is literally the hood right next to all these other bougie places right here. So just like that, here we are in the hood, right? Not literally even a mile away from it, right? And you wonder why those houses get flocked. I mean, yeah, these are, the ghetto right here. This is a pretty hood area right here. Or at least it was, man. There used to be a lot of Crips that used to hang out in these neighborhoods right here in Northrop. A lot of Crips, right? Especially on Carroll Drive right here. This is where a lot of the homies used to hang out here. See a little bit of the trenches in these parts right here. See? Highly gentrified environment, as you would imagine. Yeah, man, hold on a second here. And this is another part of the trenches right here. Arden area. This was a very popular billiard spot right here. It seems that this billiard spot right here is still running, from what it seems. So that's good to see. All right. And we are about to approach the Arden Mall area. I mean, yeah, very a historical landmark of Sacramento, I would say. And of course, you can't have a California without an In-N-Out burger right here. So there you go, In-N-Out. Now, usually you could just go down that straight towards the Arden Mall, or you could take this way for a little bit of a shortcut. Check this out, right? You don't want to get through traffic, you want to get to the mall. This is how you do it right here. So you skip all that, and then you go through. See, there you go. And now we're in the mall, right? You backdoor your way into the mall. Bada bing, bada boom. Now we're in the Arden Mall. We are in the backside of Arden Mall, and you will see the front as we go around it right now. Oh, people are still shopping. That used to be a Forever 21 store or some sort of like hipster store. Right now, it's just like a country western store because those are the only people that could afford to buy like the newer clothes. And then this is a Barnes and Nobles right here, right next to what used to be a movie theater, right? But what remains here is a teriyaki grill. They've had that teriyaki grill place there since 2007. Now they added a Crunch Fitness here, it seems. There's a gym here, Crunch Fitness, and then there's Best Buy. Best Buy has always been there. And now we go to the front side of the mall. More shortcuts that you could take right here. So right next to that California Kitchen, that is where the what do you call it? That's where the movie theater used to be. So there's the Pier 50 sushi bar. That always a sushi bar? Probably was, yeah. But yeah, there's Barnes and Nobles right there that we just went around on. Uh, so people be at the mall walking around like they got money to buy stuff. It's kind of hilarious, isn't it? You know what I mean? Like, what are these people buying at the mall? Like with the economy that we're at. But then again, we think that, but, there are different people with different circumstances going on. And, they probably have all the money in the world and we don't know it, right? You don't know who has money nowadays. But one thing's for sure, with the theme that we were talking about earlier, yeah, a lot of people in America are struggling for sure, right? And it's still amazing to see that people, even uh, with all that, still enjoy the mall. But I don't know, man. I guess it just depends on who you are and depends on whether you have the luxury or the means to get extra expenditures or extra earn. Yeah, one of them things.
All right, so we're making one last round on the Arden Mall, and then we're gonna head out of the Arden Mall and yeah, continue our way around Sacramento as a little bit of a Sacramento tour that we got going on right now today. Right behind us was the Univision Univision station. So yeah, it's the Spanish TV station. Look at that. Nate Diaz endorsing a lawyer. DrakeTheLawyer.com. You are injured and you need a fighter. There's Nate Diaz right there. We're heading into the punchline. You guys know this famous comedy spot right here. Joe Rogan has performed here plenty of times. What is the name of this? What do we got going on here? Where are these dudes right here? Yeah, this is where the punchline is at, where Joe Rogan and those guys perform at, right here, right up there, the punchline of Sacramento. And then right back here is the movie theater, right? Nordstrom Saks, all these beauty stores, container stores, and then the movie theater. A movie theater that's been here for a long time. Yeah, this place has been here for a long time, man. This is where all the people meet at right here in this particular Arden Starbucks right here. You'd see biker dudes roll up here, meet up here, and just gather right here, chilling with their bikes out and everything, right? Sometimes in the middle of the night, everybody hangs out here. This is like the hangout spot over here. The How About Arden area, HBA. See this Starbucks right here that's been around forever. They've had this Starbucks location in here forever, man. And yeah, the punchline, as I said, right? The comedy club punchline. See, right there. Punchline of Sacramento. Yup, right there. And they show you too where it's at. It's like right there. All right, so we've almost seen everything there is to see in Sacramento, obviously, but yeah, there's a cupcake store right there. That used to be a very prominent Italian restaurant right there. Obviously, this had closed down, and I don't know what happened to it. But, you know, like all things, like all good things, they all come to an end, right? And that right there is just the quintessential reality of America today, right? Like that is the symbol of America right there. You know that that place was popping at some point, and now you see the crumble and the decline of such place. We're now embarking by the 24-hour fitness on Fulton Hurley. I used to get into a lot of fights in this gym right here, Fulton and Hurley. Used to be up in here smacking fools up. Yeah. If you smoke like I smoke, you high like every day. And if your ass is a buster, regulate. Hell yeah. Got that Long Beach sound going. I said you got that Long Beach sound going. Yeah. My name's Kyrie. Huh? My name's Kyrie. Oh, my name's Azzy. Nice to meet you, Azzy. All right, Charles. So we're probably going to take it to downtown pretty soon. What else I wanted to show you here? I believe I just passed by a Jewish synagogue, which is right around here. But yeah, we're going to take it to the downtown area of Sacramento right now. Here it is. This is the Jewish temple right here. Yep, that's the Jewish temple. And as you would imagine, plenty of them here, as you would imagine, yeah. Wow, look at this. It's a Lebanese flag. I guess a Lebanese family lives there. I'm going to take you to a park where I used to work out a lot at. Used to jog at this park. Used to work out there. Used to run laps in this park. I'm going to check it out right here real quick. I had a homie who lived in that house. I don't know if it's the same one that lives in that house, but yeah, that used to never have an apartment complex near there. Now they do. And obviously this was always a gated community right here. Yeah, this right here is a gated community. You'd have to get through there through here. So yeah, a lot of gated communities here. See, here it is. Gated communities. All right, I was going to take you to the car dealership area that I used to work at, but it's taking too long. So I figured I just, kind of head this back down to downtown Sacramento, and then we'll just enjoy the ride from here. We'll probably stop by at a plus traffic has died down at this point of the day, which is good. But um, at the same time, you still have to kind of take some shortcuts, right? So instead of going to, let's say, the 5, if you're going to head into downtown, right, you could just take this way towards the Sacramento State area. So that's kind of the area that we're going towards right now. All right, so towards downtown Sacramento we go. This area of Sacramento is like the old money rich section of Sacramento. This was one of the um, convalescent homes that I used to work at right here, Asbury Park. And now we're heading into Sacramento State University. That is our next destination, and it's going to take us right down to downtown. Look at this, and just the homelessness that is going on in this country right now, right? You know, which kind of begs the question, do we even need a White House fight card? And I say, why not? You're not going to stop it, right? You're not going to stop poverty, but you're also not going to stop having, having these shows. As soon as we cross this bridge right here, we're going to be in Sacramento State University. All right, here we are, Sacramento State University. Okay, there's probably some, people taking finals right now, or I think there's no school right now. College is out by May, but yeah, this is the college that I went to right here, Sacramento State University. Those are the dorms right there. This is the campus. Oh, okay. Looks like it's a closed road. All right, we'll just get out of here then. All right, we'll just get out of here and head to downtown. Looks like they closed off campus in the meantime. We are now on J Street in Sacramento. This is the connection between Sacramento State and downtown. So we are in the 55 Street area. As you head into the 40s, that is where you head into the old money territory of things. So, yeah. So this is the Fabulous 40s of East Sacramento, the famous Fabulous 40s. Guillermo Giuliano, shout out to you, my man. He says Kyrie with a $2. Thank you for the donation, my man. Shout out to you, bro. How you been, bro? Thank you for that, man. Thank you for the recognition, my man. How's the East Coast for you, man? You missed it out here? You missed the West Coast or what? Yeah, so the subject matter that we were talking about deep earlier into the live stream is whether this White House card is necessary. And the answer is no, it's not. But at the same time, it's also very fun, right? So you can't deny that. That's one thing about it, right? It's like we have all these underlying problems going on in the United States. As I've highlighted earlier, right, the inflation. I went to an old apartment of mine that I had stayed at when I first started college out here, and I paid. By the way, it was a furnished apartment already, right? $595 monthly for a studio, and now a studio runs you about 1,100. So that's the world that we live in, and that was in 2009. People earlier were shocked when I told them I was 41 years old. A lot of people thought I was like 29 or something like that. But hey, I take it, man. You got to live the right lifestyle to look young in your later stages in your life. So yeah, so we just basically toured the whole entire Sacramento, right? We literally went from the trenches, not the whole Sacramento, because obviously I didn't cover Natomas today. I didn't cover Rancho Cordova. That's a whole nother drive, on the other side of town.
but I did cover this part of town, so that can't be denied. So yeah, our stop today is probably going to end at downtown Sacramento, or Old Sacramento. We are in downtown Sacramento right now, but we will be in Old Sacramento in not too long from now. So Giuliano, my man, came through with the donation, man. Really appreciate it, man. It's donations like that motivate me to do these streams, man. And not only that, to keep going, and inshallah for all of us to rise to the top in this MMA streaming game. Here we are. We are in the capital, now heading towards downtown. That's Sutter Health Hospital right there. We are about to pass by the Sacramento Kings Golden One Arena right here.
Now, what would California be without them lowriders, them Impalas, and all? All right, so I figured what a great way to end the live stream, right? We went on an epic ride. We literally went to the hood of hoods, multiple hoods of Sacramento. We went to the bougie parts. We went to some historical landmarks, all types of different places, right? So obviously, the main topic at hand that we talked about was that we were wondering if the White House card is even worth having, right? Because the answer to that is yes, it is worth having. The argument that people are making is something to the extent of, well, you know what, we have all these problems going on in our country: illegal immigration, okay, terrorism, inflation, higher costs of living, right? You name it, right? The constant same old talking points that many people talk about both in the right and the left. The truth of that though is that it doesn't. I don't think that it changes uh, one way or another. I don't think that it's going to change the positivity of the economy, nor will it change any type of underlining issues that America has going on. But what it will do is enhance mixed martial arts. That's ultimately what it will do. Now, if you care about that, then you're a true mixed martial arts fan or somebody that's really involved or embedded in the business in some kind of way. But you need to put things in proper perspective, right? Number one, just because there are problems going on, it doesn't mean that you can't go and enjoy yourself. Okay, and then the other thing about it is just because you go and try to solve these issues without caring about all these other issues. I mean, without caring about the circus, it doesn't make it. It doesn't make what you do even more righteous or less, right? It's just a matter of perspective. I just think that if you're trying to like boycott the card, then you never were really a fan to begin with, and that's just something that really a lot of people have to understand. So you were never a fan to begin with if you are trying to avoid a card, and quite frankly, if you are in love with this card, well, then you are probably in love with all mixed martial arts fights, period, right? Because this fight could have happened literally anywhere. It doesn't have to be in the White House specifically. It doesn't have to be in New York City. It could be in Las Vegas. It could be in London. This fight could have happened anywhere. It just so happens that it happened on the day of Donald Trump's birthday under his wishes. And it just so happens to be at the White House. And that's all there is really to it. So, with that in mind, I'm going to sign off on this epic live stream. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one, inshallah.